Man, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of All In with Nate. I was actually going to do this show tomorrow, but I want to go ahead and get out of the way because typically my voice be messed up, but I ain't feel like dealing with this game after today. But the Falcons lost in probably the most embarrassing fashion you could ask them to lose in. They lost 34 to 10 at home, and that final score don't even indicate how bad that football game was. First thing first, let's go ahead and make this clear. Something has to happen up top. And what I mean by the up top is there needs to be somebody held accountable for this, aka firing. Because what I saw today looked like a team that quit on their head coach at a certain point in their game. That was what it looked like. Yes, you had injuries. Yes, you didn't have Drake London today. Yes, you still been down Jalen Walker and Zach Harrison and those certain guys. Diablo's been on IR. You do have injuries. However, number one, next man up. Number two, that doesn't excuse how bad this offense has been in the last few weeks. Going back to the second half of the Bills game, we have not been good. And it shows. It shows bad. And I'm to a point now where it's like this group is not going to buy in to what this head coach is saying, to what this offensive coordinator, by the way, gets worse every week. He gets worse every week. And it's getting to a point now where how do you defend it? You cannot defend what happened today. Losses happen in the NFL, but losing to a team who just last week couldn't crack 10 points against a Cleveland Browns team that's really not that good, but you go to Atlanta and we're your get-right game. It happened last week with the San Francisco 49ers. I guess we turn to everybody's get-right game now. But you're now 3-4, and the schedule doesn't get easier. You go to New England next week. That Patriot Ball Club is 6-2. They're a lot better than people thought they were going to be. Then you go to Berlin to follow that up and play a Colts squad who is a highly underrated contender in the AFC right now. Your next two games are very, very key. And you are now staring at 3-4. This was a ball game you had to win, but you didn't even win that game. So now you're looking at a situation where you got those two. And by the way, you got Carolina in a few weeks who tends to play the Falcons close. I don't know what it is about when they play Atlanta, but when Bryce Young plays the Falcons, Bryce Young turns up on the Falcons. Yes, he's hurt right now, but we don't know what the circumstances could be in a few weeks from now. So you are in a very, very dangerous position if you're the Falcons as far as this season goes. But me personally, I am checked out on Raheem Morris as a head coach. I am checked out on Zach Robinson as the offensive coordinator because this young talent is going to be held back regardless of who's at a high center. There was a lot of people that was like, that we all probably thought Kirk Cousins would have been a little bit better today, considering the fact that he was in the scheme last year. It's not even that. Because this prop at this point is beyond the scheme. This team is not good. This team is being held back by an incompetent coaching staff. And for an organization that has been bugging everyone saying, this is a playoff team, we're a dark horse, we're going to be this and that and the third coming into this season, it's not showing. I have not seen the potential of this ball club since the first half of that Bills game. Because let's be real, they didn't do anything in the second half of the Bills game. So from that half up until now, this ball club looks bad and is progressively getting worse to the point now where you're 3-4. And luckily, you got some help from Buffalo today because they beat Carolina, who still has the edge on you in the NFC South. But Tampa is playing a very bad Saints team, and they're going to probably 6-2 after today. So this season is getting away from you fast. And it's to a point now where Raheem Morris don't have the leash that people think he has. He can be fired. He can be fired. Do I think Arthur Blank has enough in him to do it? No. Not until the end of the season because Arthur Blank has been too nice. And that's been an issue with previous head coaches. The only one that got fired like mid through the season was Dan Quinn 5 years ago. However, what has this guy done to earn the grace to continue to carry on as the head coach and continue to have this mid to below average football product on the field each week? Continue. He has a losing record overall as an NFL head coach, and that goes back to his Tampa Bay days. So what are we holding on to Raheem Morris for? Also with Zach Robinson. This team, the last couple of weeks, have shown one thing and one thing only. If you shut down Bijan Robinson, you shut down the Atlanta Falcons. It has been showing. Because, number one, Drake is not healthy, right? Drake didn't even play today. Mooney hasn't been 100% all season, but even when Mooney was playing, we have not seen good football from Darnell Mooney most of the season. But this also speaks to one of the issues that came into this season, the lack of wide receivers. You don't have wide receivers that gain separation. You don't have and then when you're coming in with a guy like Michael Penix Jr., who still trying to learn the NFL, but you have this bad offensive coordinator, it is not a good combination. Now look at what we just mentioned. Your starting quarterback and your starting wide receiver was out today. Mooney did nothing today. So all you really was left with was Kyle Pitts. But even with that being said, the offense, they were, I don't want to put this. They were so bad, there was not really any moment you could point out to about how bad they were. Bijan had a fumble, but outside of that, they were just bad in general. Like, there's not even one thing. I can't say the offensive line was getting whooped by Miami's pass rush. I can't say that certain players weren't trying to dial in on offense. It was bad all the way around the board. So I can't say, hey, the Falcons did this particular thing wrong. It was bad all the way around. So I don't know where you go from here, but I do know that Zach Robinson is not the guy to be the offensive coordinator on a contending NFL roster. Note what I said. You're trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 2017. He can't be your OC going forward, because I'm telling you, the more that this continues, the worse it's going to get for this offense. And all that top 2 offense in the league, number 1 defense in the league, cut the cap, cut them stats. Don't worry about those stats. They're not winning ball games. You lost at home to a Dolphin team who was the worst rushing defense in the National Football League. Not today. Not today. They show today. But let me hit some of these comments real quick before I continue. What's up, Tev? He said, if Bijan isn't being great, the offense can't do anything, fire everyone. Yeah, that's what I was just speaking about. Bijan Robinson, as talented as he is, this is where the issue comes into play for the Atlanta Falcons. If you cannot get a passing attack going, you're going to struggle. In the last 2 weeks, Robert Saleh had an excellent game plan for just boxing Bijan Robinson. He wanted to make Penix beat him in the air. We didn't really get going in the passing attack. The same thing applied the following week, which is today. Again, where do you go from here if you're the Atlanta Falcons? Because his offense isn't getting any better. Then you have flaws where you have a banged up wide receiving core, and you still, even when they're on the field, they can't get separation. So Bijan has carried us, truth be told, to the point of having 3 wins. But now you have to show more if you plan on contending in not only the NFC South, but in the league. And it's not showing. Tev said, I knew this offense was gonna do anything this year with a dumb head coach. That's also been one of those things that we have been fussing about for years, is you hurt your offense by not playing any starters. You don't know what you have. So, of course, week 1 is always a wash because you're still trying to figure out what is this offense truly. That's really the big issue every time you see this offense. And then when they do get in a groove, it doesn't look consistent, because what we saw a couple weeks ago against Buffalo and what we've seen today, it don't even look like that was the same football team. So I don't know what to expect at New England, at Berlin against the Colts. I don't know what they're going to look like. But I do know that one thing is a big issue. You're starting to see the lack of talent on this ball club outside of where, and here's what we're going by with this. We said the depth of this team needed to stay healthy. It shows on defense because A-Chain and Jalen Waddle was able to have their moments in this game based on the fact that there's not a lot of speed on the field. Diablo's out on IR. Jalen Walker hasn't played since the Buffalo game. Billy Bowman hasn't played in a couple of weeks. That's 3 key pieces on your defense that is missing. J.D. Bertrand sucks. Let's get that out the way. He does not need to be a starting linebacker on nobody's team right now. He's not good. Caden Ellis, good player, not a consistent linebacker. He's more of a pass rusher. So when you have 3 of your starters out, this is where those things are exposed. Let's go back. Let's look at the CMC situation from last week. CMC went crazy on the Falcons. He did nothing today against Houston. But what does Houston have? A solid defensive front and a defense all the way around the board that's healthy. We don't have that. So it showed today. So, of course, the next couple of teams that we play next week is going to be similar situation. You're going to see Stephon Diggs. They're going to try to utilize Stephon Diggs. You're going to see Travion Henderson try to get utilized next week. 2 weeks from now, you got Jonathan Taylor, who is low-key making a case for early season MVP in the Colts uniform right now. Then we're going to deal with in Berlin. Who on that linebacking core is slowing down a Jonathan Taylor right now? These are real issues that we're dealing with. That's going to be a problem in the coming weeks. Let me get the next comment. Katie said Bijan is so good he hit out. Yes, that's how great of a talent that Bijan Robinson is. He has hit out flaws to the point where now that teams have had a answer of let's stack the box, let's make these guys, and it doesn't help of the play calling. The pistol offense doesn't work, but yet and still we go out here and we run this pistol week in and week out and week in and week out, and it doesn't help at all. It's getting worse. There was a 3rd down and 1 today in the first half where it's clear you're going to hand the ball off to Bijan Robinson. Excuse me. You're going to hand the ball off to Tyler Algier for trying to get a first down. Everyone knew it in the stadium. Everyone knew it on the field. It showed. So, again, what do you expect? Everyone knows your scheme. Everyone knows what you're doing. So it's now to a point where a competent offensive coordinator has to get this group going. Again, miss me with injuries because certain things, this is why and I'm going to be honest with you. Let me be the first one to say, I've seen a lot of quotes questioning, do we need to get rid of Terry Font? No, this is not a roster issue. This is not a full roster issue. Are we missing in certain spots? Yes. Wide receiver is one of them. Because we was out there with David Seals. I don't think Casey Washington really got targeted today. Cordero Hodge. You don't have a legitimate number 2 or number 3 or number 4 or number 5 after Drake London. And that showed today because they did nothing. When you don't have a Drake London that you can feed to, this is what happens. So it's bad. It's really bad for the Falcons right now. And again, the season is not getting any easier considering the next 3 games that you have. Because again, I'm not counting Carolina out as I'm not counting Carolina at home as a win. And by the way, speaking of home games, we're not even guaranteed that we're going to win at home because that's been a bad look on this coaching staff. You got to be able to show up at home. We didn't show up today. And we all be complaining about how the Benz is not a real football atmosphere, how the fans ain't really locked in. You got to put a product on the field for folks to care. Because I promise you, today wasn't a really good crowd. It was not a good crowd. People were there, but it was not a really big atmosphere because, for one, what did the folks have to cheer for today? You got booed off the field at halftime. Let that sink in. They got booed off the field at halftime. Folks were out their seats, myself included. I never leave Falcon games early. I did today at the end of the third quarter. Nobody wanted to sit around to watch Tua, who, by the way, really can't see out of one of his eyes right now. And there's no disrespect to him. But there again, he's moving the ball down the field, moving the ball. The boy threw 4 touchdowns today. 4. Again, miss me with injuries. That's a bad football team. They look like a competent football team today against the Atlanta Falcons defense. But of course, they also dominated time possession today, which I'll show the stats in a few, because what did we really do on offense? We did nothing. We weren't even on the field really today. It was horrible. And again, I have to go back to this conversation about Raheem Morris. There's a lot of people who want to continue to be like, he needs. Hold on, let me put this comment up here. Oh, yes, I absolutely was. I was walking out the stadium at the start of the fourth quarter. I was done. To the point where we watched the rest of the game on the TV at the tailgate. I was not going to deal with that. Well, boy, Rich, what's going on, bro? Hey, by the way, he's a Dolphins fan. Good win for y'all. Yeah, everything you said is the same issues the Dolphins have. It's crazy how so many teams have similar issues, but I even feel like I feel like even with Mike McDaniel's a better, he's know how to get that team. He has a better play caller. He's a better play caller. Zach Robinson shouldn't even be a play caller in the National Football League. But again, this is what happens when you have a head coach come in here that brings in coordinators with little to zero experience. Last year we got rid of Jimmy Lake. Oberson had the defense looking much better, but again, today wasn't a good day for him. But they look better this season. Again, Zach Robinson came in, not a person that had a lot of experience as an offensive coordinator, and you're trying to get a team that has missed the playoffs every year since 2017 back into the postseason with lackluster play calling, a lackluster offensive coordinator. And by the way, Hilliard getting fired made no sense. It still don't make any sense. Again, you fired a position coach for what? Zach Robinson is on the field now, and this product still looks bad. Again, time to start looking at the offensive coordinator. It should have been viewed that way. But Raheem Morris is so scared to make a move with that. Guess what? You're going to cost yourself your head coaching job. Because look at some of these first and second year head coaches. Look at Dan Quinn. He brought in Keith Cliffsbury when he came in. When he was here in Atlanta, he brought in Kyle Shanahan with him. You got to bring somebody in here with some experience that's going to help you get your ball club to winning. This shows every week that this offense has gotten continuously worse. It's going to get worse, by the way, because it's not showing that you're competent enough to have an offense that can consistently put up 20 to 30 points a night. And in the NFL, 20 points is a good game. We haven't reached 20 points the last few weeks. That's a problem. And another thing, back to what I was talking about the home games. I have complained about the fans not really being consistent in consistently showing up to the games, or people just not locked in with the team. The worse that the record's going to get, you're going to see a drop-off in this fan base at those games. So that Carolina game, do not be surprised if a lot of folks don't show up. Straight up. Just going to be real about it. Don't be surprised if a lot of folks don't show up. And I wouldn't blame them if they don't show up. Of course, I'll be there. I've been a season ticket holder since the 2000s. But, of course, you're getting to the point where a lot of folks do not care for that reason. It's already not that great of a football atmosphere at this point. But then you're losing. But then you've been in the offseason, all this showing all these deep shots from Penix in the offseason, showing that this person locked in, that person locked in. But then when the season get here, you play inconsistent. It's only so much more that the most dedicated Falcon fan will be accustomed to dealing with. It's getting bad. But again, something needs to be done. Something needs to be done in fast because it's going to get worse if you don't. This is not a situation where Raheem Morris should have the grace of waiting out the season. Because I'm going to also point this out to you all. The Falcons in 2022 was 4-3 through 7 games. Last year, 4-3 through 7 games. 2023, 4-3 through 7 games. We're under 500. The schedule's not getting any easier. Your next couple of weeks is going to tell you what you really are. And next week, you're at New England. Who 6-2 again, as I want to bring up again. Your next 2 games are crucial as far as your rest of your season. Because there's a high possibility you could come back to Atlanta November 16th with a 3-6 record. Then what are you going to do? But then we put this comment up here. Absolutely. This is what happens when a head coach hires his homeboys. Something has to be done in this situation. But I'm going to go even further than this because I'm going to go ahead and say it. Raheem Morris is not the guy to put the Atlanta Falcons in the position that we need to be in to be a contender in the NFC South, in the NFC, or even in the NFL. And that's to the point right there. But also, let me be clear on this. The next guy that becomes the Atlanta Falcons head coach needs to be an experienced game changer. Stop hiring from way back when. Raheem Morris was on Dan Quinn's staff in 2016. Why are we reaching back? Arthur Smith, don't know why in the world he was a head coach. We have not had a competent head coach since Dan Quinn. And let's just call it for what it is. The next hire needs to be the right hire, or you're going to have the same issue going forward. And you got all this young talent that guess what? Eventually going to have to get paid. Bijan Robinson is going to get paid eventually. Drake London is going to end up getting paid eventually. If Michael Penix is the guy, which I still think Michael Penix has a lot to show for his future, you're going to have to eventually pay him down the road. So why waste their young years where they're going into their prime? And not only are you having that issue, you got a lot of veterans who are starting to get older. Jesse Bates got hurt today. Jesse Bates has a contract coming up after 2026. So you now starting to run into issues where your key stars are either going to have to get paid or they're getting older. A lot of real deal issues. Oh, and let's also not forget that we don't have a first round pick this year. So again, don't know what to really say about this Falcon team other than the fact that if they don't pull it together within the next 2 weeks, this season is over. It could be getting away from us way sooner than we think. What's going on, Real? He said, Pete slip money. That's how I feel. I personally want to see them go ahead and move on from whether it's Raheem and Zach or just Zach. Something has to be done and shown that someone cares about winning here because it's gotten to the point where it's gotten away from us at this point. So it was embarrassing. But I'm going to show the statistics from the game and get up off of here. I don't really feel like talking bad football no more. But let me show the statistics for the game. Let me bring this up. This is the statistics from the Dolphins-Falcons game. As you see, Tua, 20 of 26, 205 yards, passing 4 touchdowns, only got sacked once. That was the first drive of the game. 138.6 passer rating. Great day at the office for him. Kirk Cousins, 21 of 31, no touchdowns, no picks, got sacked once. I mean, that was nothing we really did. And a lot of those stats came in the fourth quarter. He had 70 yards going into the fourth quarter. Also, let's look at the statistics. This Javon A-Chain, 18 of 67, no touchdown, but he was key today. He also had 5 for 24 receiving, so he had a really good game. Look at Bijan Robinson, everyone. 9 of 25. People are dialing in on stopping Bijan Robinson. Look, okay, Nathan Carter got 2 carries today. Tyler Algier, 4 carries. Look at this is what's happening to this pathetic offense. This is what happens. Now look at the fact that the Dolphins ran for 141 yards. Today, On 37 carries, we ran for 17 for 45. Embarrassing for a team that predicates running the football. Let's move on to the receiver numbers. Jalen Waddle, 5 for 99, and a touchdown. He had a big 43-yard play. Malik Washington was 4 of 36. A-Chain had 5 catches. Ollie Gordon caught a touchdown today. But as you see, not from the Dolphin camp as far as passing. On our side, Kyle Pitts was 9 for 59. He caught all 9 passes that was thrown in his direction. Casey Washington had 1 catch. Bijan had 3 targets. He had a 117-yard play before the fumble that he unfortunately had. Cordero Hodge had 3 for 31. Again, there was nothing really from the offense that you can really say was great or was not good. So, whatever. Miami had a fumble recovery. That was the Bijan Robinson first down. The first down run that he had that was recovered. Now, as you see, Jordan Brooks, 10 tackles, 7 solo, 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss. Bertrand and Caden Ellis led the team in tackles, and not for a good reason. They sucked today. Let's be real. Not about to give no props. The stat line doesn't show how bad they were today. Mike Hughes, 6 tackles. Jesse Bates, 6 tackles. Sam Roberts had 6. D. Offer had 5 in a sack. He had the sack of the day and a tackle for a loss and a QB hit. But as you see, statistically, there wasn't really much on both sides. Like, what was anything special that you see here? Just look at these numbers. He sucked. And as you see, Parker Rowan had 1 field goal attempt. Riley Patterson had 2. Look, just look at the statistics. There was really nothing special today. Nothing special today. And I'm gonna go to the let me go to the overall team stats, and then I'm gonna say one more thing, and I'm gonna get up out of here. The Dolphins dominated in first downs, had more first downs passing, more first downs rushing. They were 6 of 13 on third down. We were 2 of 11. They were 1 of 2 on fourth. We were 2 of 4. They had almost 350 yards of offense to our 213. We had 1 more drive than them. They threw more passing yards than we did. Rushing was a lot better than us. We had 8 penalties. They had 4. They were actually one of the most penalized teams in the NFL up until today. They only had 4 penalties and then 1 turnover to Bijan. But look at the time of possession. The time of possession, 37 minutes, almost 38 minutes of football that they've played today. They had 10. There was 10 minutes in the first quarter to 22 minutes by the Falcons. So overall, terrible day at the office. But again, let me bring this question up. What's going on with boy JD? Happy birthday to you, by the way. I do have a question. How come they ran Kirk under pistol? Kirk is a dual quarterback. Miami already know Kirk don't, because of Zach Robinson. Zach Robinson is that bad of an offensive coordinator, and people know this. But again, just a bad day at the office. But that's all I have to say about the Atlanta Falcons. This was a bad football game. I took my mom and my little brothers and cousins to the game with them. They enjoyed the experience, but not the game. The game sucked. It was a pathetic showing. And then let's see what happens. Let's see if there's any developments with the coaching staff or what they'll say. If something does happen with this staff, I will definitely be back on here to talk about the Falcons. I have to do that if something develops over the next week or so, day or so. And yeah, you're right. It was straight embarrassing. But that is my recap for the Falcons. I'm going to not watch football for the rest of the day and enjoy the rest of my Sunday before we get back to this work week. By the way, enjoy y'all Monday. And yeah, we'll see what happens next Sunday. But until then, it's been the All-In Day. Enjoy your Sunday.